So thank you, Jean-Philippe, Professor Jean-Philippe Vassal, for this presentation. And I want to thank the university to invite me. And I want to excuse me about my voice, because I feel really sick, but I still have energy to talk to you. And also for my English, because it's really bad as a Frenchman. But I hope with the picture you will understand me. So to introduce what I want to talk to you, I will say that tonight I'm not going to show you the project that I'm doing with my office as an architect, for two reasons. The first one is you have to invite me a second time to have a look to my project, and because it's a pleasure to be here. And the real reason is because I want to make a big difference between what I'm doing in teaching, research, approach, and what I'm doing with my office. Because now, I don't know in Germany, but in France, the two things are too close. I mean, the private sector, which are building the city, our environment. For example, if you are a good builder, you, of course, naturally, you go to teach at the school. But I think it's not the same skill. To be a teacher is not the same skill than to be a builder. It's a question of thinking, and we have to think before building. So just to, I will tell you some story tonight. I want to just I think it's 1 hour, no more than 1 hour. I just want to propose you a trip to South Africa with some way back to France and to America a little bit. I took this picture, I was 19 years old in Soweto in '94. I didn't know what to do in my life, so I moved to South Africa because in '94 it was the election of Nelson Mandela. So something was happening in that place, very important, and I engaged myself in the ANC, African National Congress, in the campaign for the election. So I was living there 6 months, and it was a very strong experience for me, because sometimes you find yourself and not where you are, but you have to go very far, as Jean-Philippe was saying. So I meet a culture, a way of life, which is very different from where I'm coming from. And this is a wedding, because I was the white man in my neighborhood. I was invited to, I was the special guest for the wedding and all the party. And I like to party, so I was always invited. So you kill the animal, you eat it, you drink too much. And the day after, with the couple, on the Sunday, you go on the side of the road and you buy a house. So you can buy a 1 room and a half, 1 room 3/4, and 2 rooms. So if you put out 1-0, you've got the price in euro. And so after you take a truck and you go in a piece of land empty and you build a house in the Sunday afternoon. But this is what I was doing during my weekend. So I was thinking, architecture, it's something fantastic. This is what I want to do. So I came back to France and I go to the School of Architecture. And the teaching was not really the same subject than what I was from this experience. So I did my study, I did academic study, I get the knowledge, which is very important to have. But after this 6 years at university, I wanted to went back where I'm from. So I went back in 2004, and I did a documentary, a movie about this woman, because I wanted to document, after 10 years of democracy, I wanted to ask the question, how do people get a house in the place where I was living 10 years before? So this is the house of Maria, and I did a lot of shooting, a lot of movie about the situation and the way of building. It was really amazing for me. After, I did, this is a squatter camp, we call it Freedom Park in Soweto. I did an heritage, a photographic documentary about all the houses, like you do with the kids at school, the portrait of the house. I took all the houses in picture. And after, Jean-Philippe was saying that I wanted to ask the question about the access of housing in South Africa. And you know, during the apartheid, they did very good architecture because they were good for engineering and building, not for politics, but for building they were good. And so they did this neighborhood, it's called Hillbrow, and it's a fantastic modern architecture. And it was the high life standard in the 60s during apartheid. And when Mandela get into power, all these people, they leave the area. And so all the poor people came and started to squat the vacant building. So it was a complete crazy situation. And I wanted to work on that and to find solution as an architect, maybe to provide a solution for access of housing. Because you've got economic empowerment, you've got services, you've got all the cities giving to you, which I think you don't have in the township. So we start making a studio. Jean-Philippe came, Francis Quéré came, Frédéric Druot came, a lot of people came working with us. It was not related to university, it was very, very free, very light. And it was 1 week studio, and we were taking case study and to work on it. So this was an hospital in the center, and now 247 families are living inside. So you see in a room like that, 5 people are living. So there is no construction work, there is nothing. So what an architect can do. So this is the studio with the student. This is Karen Smuts, a South African architect, also a friend of mine. She's very supporting my work and working with me. This is the kind of mapping we are doing. In this building, you can find a church on the basement, laundry, you can find a crèche on the second floor. It's completely unbelievable the way the people are living inside this building. It's a big, big lesson. This is Hillbrow. It's where the life is. But if you are white and you move to South Africa, people will say, don't go to Hillbrow. I mean, it was a 4-star hotel. So this is the state of the neighborhood now. Okay, and after, it was a small introduction. Now we are in 2012. Back to Soweto, in a place I know very well. It's called Kliptown. Kliptown is very important. And what was happening is I started to teach in the school of Toulouse. They engaged me to be a teacher in this school. Shame for them. So what I propose, I suggest, I say, okay, let's go with the student. Let's move to South Africa and to run a studio there. And what we did in Hillbrow was very interesting, but I was more or less frustrated because I couldn't see enough consequence on the daily life of the people inside the building. We were not able to change something or to be in action. So I said, let's go on that part of the city. Let's work with institution and community to see what we can do. So this is Kliptown. Okay, I show you this map just to explain you because I don't like to use this kind of document. It's for urban planner is good, not for me. It's a railway line here. This is the Klip River, and this is what we call Kliptown here. And Kliptown is very famous because it's where in 1955 they did the Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter is the origin of the fight against apartheid, and is the original text of the South African Constitution, which is apparently one of the most progressive in the world. So this place is very, very, very important in the collective history of South Africa. But the power, they came, the politics, and they engage urban planner, and you know what they are doing? They are doing this kind of things. So they work with this document. They are very high in the sky, but when you walk in the street here, the result is not here. And here, 50,000 people are living. So with my student, we decide to make a project here. And after, last year, we did a project here. I will show you. This is the Freedom Charter. This is the street in Kliptown today, the condition. So after 10 years of democracy, a lot of things change, you can see. I was thinking, when I was young, I was thinking that maybe with the politics we can change. Now I'm working in another way. So this is the big line I show you from the sky. This is the most important market in Soweto. It's a huge market. They move the market outside and they say, we're going to build the market for you. And so a Dutch architect came. He did this fantastic architecture, you see. He has to move a bit the pillar, you know, to exist. And I send you back to Erzberger lesson of architecture lesson, about the skill of architecture and skill of structure. This is my studio in 2012. So this person is very important. It's a question of people also. His name is Bob. Bob was a street kid. And now he's the director of an orphanage. The orphanage is called Sky, Soweto Cliptown Youth. And so we decided to work with him because there is no politics in this part of the city. So some people in the community, they stand up and they propose to organize something to the others. So we said, okay, let's work with him. So he's showing the state of the things to the student. This is Sky here. So you've got the highway line. You've got a big slope on that way until the river here. And you've got different buildings. I will show you. This is the street in front of Sky. And this is the first building of the institution of Sky. It's Mama Eva house. It's she's a woman. She was living here. And during apartheid, when the parents they went to jail, the children stay alone. So she was taking the children and doing the stuff for the children. So it was the first building of what we call an orphanage. This is the courtyard, and this is two buildings that Bob built 10 years ago. The Los Angeles Lakers, they came to South Africa to make a tour, and Bob is very clever. So he went to the hotel of the Los Angeles Lakers, and he said to them, you must go to Soweto, and you must come with me to visit my place. And so the basketball team went there, and they pay for two buildings, one a canteen and a school, like a school building for after school working, a classroom. The problem is they did this building, they did this organization, but they didn't think enough well the place. So for example, this courtyard, you've got a slope, and when it's raining, when you've got big storm, all the water is going into the building and to the bedroom of the kids. So every night, you've got that level of water inside the bedroom. So with the student, we did the first trip, and we said, okay, let's point all the problem of the place. Maybe we can try to solve the problem. And after, we did a 2 weeks studio on site. We lived there with the people, and we say, okay, so now we know the technical problem, and we can try to solve the problem and to go further than the techniques and to go on to architecture to provide a solution. I will explain later, develop all these topics. So this is the first day, and the principle is to say, okay, we're going to organize training session for the people on that neighborhood because all the people are unemployed. They are bored, they get bored, so they are drunk. They don't know what to do, so we propose them, okay, it's a training session done by university. So you come, we make food for you, you stay 2 weeks with us, we work together, and we try to arrange that place. So we don't have money, but 120 people came and engaged themselves with us to work. So with the student, we were 150 people. This is our clients. And this is very important because we are in a university. I want to tell you, for the student, that everything you do for people. This is the life of that place. This is very precious, and it's what I like. And I want to give something to this. This girl, Tombi, she's a street kid. She was like that, and now she's adult. She's taking the responsibility of the young one. It's a question of emancipation also. So we start working, you see? we start working. I bring a friend of mine with me, this man. He's called Kinya Maruyama. He's a Japanese architect from Timzu. A very famous man, very old and very funny, very crazy. And so we didn't have money, but we asked Brand to give us material and resources to make some work. So we have to make first a wall to make something on the courtyard about the rainwater. We did a drainage system, I will show you. And so we were supposed to make a brick wall. So when you're a student, you make a line, you make a straight line. And when you go on site, you start to tell a story about a snake, about something about you dream in the night, and this man is very clever, so he starts to move everything, and at the end, you build in another way. So we are not planning, we are improvising every day. On the back of this wall, there is a crèche, a primary school and a crèche. And the wall is like a big limit between the orphanage and the school. So Kinya immediately make a small mountain. And what I like with this man is not making one project, he's making 50 projects per day. And he's not on front, he's on the back pushing people to make projects. He was like a fish in the water in this place. So this young man, he wants to be a builder in Japan now. And so we ask for gravel. People, they give us gravel for free. And so we start to make a drainage system in the courtyard to collect the rainwater. And in this place, they are making artwork. They do dance, music. And so we decide to make a huge stage on the courtyard to be able to perform. And this stage must be the drainage system. So we don't have tools, but we are a lot. And also in South Africa, something very amazing. It's, the democracy is very, very important in South Africa. You can joke with that. What you are doing, you have to explain and to discuss with everyone every day. If you don't do that, you won't success. This is very important. Explaining always what we are doing. So we ask the French brand Lafarge, which is in South Africa, you know, for the concrete and the cement. And they develop a new concrete. It's called Hydromedia. It's a drainage concrete. It's an open concrete. So it was the perfect materials to do our stage and to make the drainage system of the orphanage. So I propose them, I say, okay, give us this concrete. We will show you. We can use it in a very critical situation with non-qualified people. We can do it. So I did a sample, and I explained to the people the process I wanted to reach. And so we prepared the level, and after the concrete arrived, it was a very intense moment. The concrete was late, of course, and we did it with the same color of the earth. Yeah, you can see here. And there is a very funny story. I don't know if you see the picture of the poster of this lecture. You can see young people dancing with boots. It's called gun boots. It's a tradition in South Africa. In the mine, the people with the noise, they couldn't speak to each other. So they were dancing to make a language to be able to discuss. And so in this orphanage, they perform gun boots. They do gun boots, they do perform, they get some money to provide food and for the orphanage. So they do gumboots. And Lafarge, two men from Lafarge, you know where they are, this one, they came with a machine. The machine is called a compactor. And it's a machine which is making the soil very flat and is making a finition of the soil. But we were late and the machine was immediately out of order. After 10 square meters, and we had to do 500 square meters. So the machine is out of order, it's 5 o'clock. It was a disaster. And so all the kids say, no problem. We're going to compact with gun boots. And so all the compaction of the floor, 500 square meters, it was done by the kids with the boots. And it works. So the people are better than machine. Don't forget that. This man is very important. You will see him later also. His name is Kwaito. he was thinking he doesn't have skill. And in fact, he's the best bricklayer and the best worker I never met. He found a job after that experience. Okay, the floor is done. And after we did this roofing to make the connection in between all the building when it's raining and when it's too sunny. And after we do a garden also on that part and over a different part also. This is Karine working with us. She asks the children to collect all the dirty things on the site. They clean and after they do mosaic everywhere. And this is the garden, because the drainage system, after we put water to make a garden. And this man is very important also. This man came out of jail after 2 years in jail. And I met him in the street. And he was busy doing some landscaping in the empty space in the neighborhood. And so I talked to him, and he's explaining to me that he was completely rejected by the community because he went out of jail. And so to rehabilitate himself, he was making gardening in the street to provide vegetables, flower, just to show to the people that he can do something for his community. So I say, okay, he must be in charge of the landscaping. So he was working with Bastien, one of the students. We bring a lot of seeds, and we do a fantastic garden with him. We did a small greenhouse to make the small plants. You see? We collect the rainwater. And this is a big, big project. I'm very proud of this project because it's 2 girls from Canada. For the master degree in France, they did 2 toilets for architectural study in my studio master. So in this orphanage, you've got 1 toilet for 120 kids. And now you've got 3 toilets. And the difference is enormous. This is the garden. Ginger is working in the garden. You will see him later also. This is Bob. And so in South Africa, they know how to do party also. So at the end, we have to do a very big party because it was a fantastic time, 2 weeks, fantastic with these people. On the left is the children, on the right, the worker. The atmosphere was unbelievable. You see the skill of architecture? I feel better than the last picture about this topic. And very important, so each person is having a degree from the School of Architecture in Toulouse. So these people, they never went to school because of apartheid. And I think we have to do something about this subject. So they've got degrees. Some of them, they get work after that. It took me 4 hours to give all the degrees to the people. And the last thing we do, I'm not so proud of that, but it was very efficient. I asked the director of my schools to buy a solar panel with lamp and battery to provide some lighting, because there is no electricity, no light, and at night, for the security of the children, it's a big, big problem. So under our cover, we put 6 lamps with solar panel on the top here. So all the night, if you walk here, automatically you've got light. And for the children at night, it's very efficient. Light is security. And this is the gun boots, the way they are performing now on that floor, which was at the beginning a technical work, and we turn it onto something completely different for art performance. And so they perform always in that space. A lot of people are coming, and it's a big, big resource for that place. The definition is not good, but it's not the subject. I put this layout to explain you that we did the layout, but after. For 2 reasons. The first is it's precise, and the second one, it's very well done, because it's dealing with the reality of what we have done. And just to end with Sky, 3 weeks after we leave the space, this is Richie Hawtin, Plastic Man, the international DJ. I don't know if you know him. I'm a big fan of him. And they call me, they say, Plastic Man is playing on the courtyard. I say, no, it's not possible. Look at that. This is our rendering. Look, the people on the floor, on the rooftop, all the people here, you see. So Richie Hawtin, he went to Soweto. He see the place, and he say, okay, I want to perform here. You cannot think about that when you plan something. Life is happening. Okay, so now we are back to France. This is Bob, and this is the bricklayer, Quaito. We are in a small village close to Bordeaux. It's called Uzeste. It's 400 people living there. And in this village, there is a big man, completely crazy. He's a French jazz musician. He's called Bernard Lubat. Bernard Lubat was the drummer of Stan Getz. He was the drummer of Claude Nougaro. And after he did his own career. And he can play different instruments. And he never did a record. You cannot buy the music. You just have to go to Uzeste to listen. So he's a free jazz musician, and a lot of big jazz musicians are coming on that place. And so a few years ago, if you check on my website, I did this building for him. It was the building of the parents of Bernard. You see, this is the picture of the story here, everywhere. And it was a cafe, shop, hotel, restaurant, dancing. It was everything in that building. And we turned it into a concert hall and a tool for Bernard to perform, to play, and to teach the music of the young in this village. And so the subjects are close. Uzeste, Artwork, and Clipton are very close. So I said, let's ask the same team from Clipton coming to France and doing the same process with the same people. Because something very important for me, it's too easy for us to go to Africa. You just pay your ticket, you take your passport, you go there, you enjoy yourself. For an African person to come here, it's impossible. So if we want to have a cultural exchange, international exchange, you have to be fair. So you have to have a kind of a reciprocity. It must be the same. So the same team came to France, 2 weeks, we do the same process, and so we did a workshop, music and architecture, during 2 weeks. So this is Bernard, the person on the left. This is the concert hall I did for it, with acoustic, balcony, a bit erotic also, but acoustic. You can dance also on that place a lot. He plays very free jazz, crazy free jazz music, but he plays also the ball on Saturday night for the people of the village to dance, popular, traditional music. And this is the village. And so in August, every year, if you want to go there, there is a big festival during 10 days. So a lot of jazz musicians are coming, and you can stay on the village. It's fantastic. It's a very good festival. And so on the workshop, we did some construction for the musician and for the village with the same team. The first thing was the river. I like the river. So we did... we call it the teaching river. We did a classroom outside. It was a gift for the village and for the school. We asked the master in the school to come and to maybe to try something with it. And you know, it's in the south of Bordeaux. We've got a very huge forest with pine trees. And a few years ago, it was a big tempest, and a lot of trees fall down. And so we are having, this is the highway to Spain, and here we are having millions and millions of trees, and we don't know what to do with it. So I said to them, if you want, we can try something. If you want to give me some trees, and maybe we can find, not solution, but we can experiment something. And also for me, I want to use the skill and the job of the people. You see, it's a big tradition to make this piece of wood, of trees, along the road in that place. And so the man who is able to do that is that one. This is the key person when you work, is to understand which is the key person, who is having the skill. And so we start to work with him, and to host our friend, we did this wood things, and with bas-relief, we write libre. So libre for French people doesn't mean nothing, but for the South African, it makes sense. This is the way people are building. It's a hunting space. So we did pavilion in the village. You can cover in summer, and it's going to be the place for selling tickets, for the bar, for the everything for the festival. This is space for the technician to have a break and to be comfortable. And Bernard also is not only a musician, he's a thinker. You can play music and think. And you can do architecture and think also, it's allowed. And so he's using word, he's using language, he's writing, and he's writing everywhere. On the wall, on the instrument. Sometimes he stops to play music, he talks. And so we start working with him also on that. So just to translate, don't come in without desire. This is Ginger, the landscape one. So he came, he became a big star in the village. He was invited for dinner in all the houses every day. And the people were giving seeds to him, so he's having a huge collection of seeds from all the market around to South Africa. Fantastic man. And so we decided also to do a place to dance on Saturday night, like on the popular tradition in France. We call it le bal. I don't know if you know it in Germany. I'm sure you've been the same. It's universal. Everywhere we dance on Saturday with traditional music. And so the people are eating a lot in this area. So we have to make a narrow space for the structure, because if you want to dance with these people, it must be very efficient. This is Children from Sky, also, because in South Africa, you bring people, you have half men, half women. It's a rule. So they came also to perform, to dance with Bernard, and to make artwork. So now they've got skill in South Africa to say, yeah, we did that in France, and they continue to work on that. And this is the young from the village. They play music. You will see them later also. Layout. Okay, quickly, this. I was invited to go by university in Detroit in America to do a project. They saw my work in South Africa, and they invite me to do a workshop with students. So it's a sign of the time. It's unbelievable. You work in Africa, and you're invited to go to America because you did something in Africa. So I'm very impressed about that. And I went to Detroit, and when I arrived in Detroit, I was very amazed about the situation. It's a disaster. So I was staying in southwest Detroit. It's very close to the Ford factory, Dearborn, on the suburbs of Detroit. And half of the houses are empty and vacant, and the people, they burn it at night. It's unbelievable. And so the university took this plot, this piece of land, to make a community project. And so they ran a studio at university, and they asked me to build something on that plot in 1 week. So I think about it before flying to Detroit, and when I arrived, I said to them, maybe it's better to have the meeting on the site and not at university. So on Monday morning, I arrived Sunday night, they came with A0 panel. You know A0 panel? I don't know if you use it in your school. In my school, it's a rule with a white white model, you know, and very beautiful rendering. And so they did different objects, very, I don't know how to say. I don't have any skill to work on that. So I said to the student, I'm very sorry, I cannot help you to build this thing. And I'm I love the book of Jim Harrison, and I'm having a rental car, and I want to go on North Michigan to see the landscape of the book of Jim Harrison. So maybe it's better, otherwise I will disturb you in the work, in the process you are running. And so they were doing like design object, you know, like a bus stop with a bench to sit, looking there with a cover, everything determined, but not so friendly, in fact. So they said to me, maybe we can walk on the site and just have a look. So this is the neighborhood. This is the empty house. If you want to go to Detroit, it's a 10,000 euro house, like that. This is people I met there because they do techno music in Detroit, especially these people, underground resistance, very interesting. And so I was supposed to run the studio at university, and this is Eric, is the community leader, which is organizing everything on site because the municipality collapsed. There is no services, nothing. So this man is taking care about the old people, the young people, he's taking everything. So they're having a garage to organize the daily life in the neighborhood. So I proposed to university to stay on site the whole week. In fact, I was staying in the house of this one. And I didn't have to go on North Michigan because this is a hip-hop musician artist. He's a native Indian Anishinaabe. And I wanted to meet the Indian community on North Michigan. And in fact, I met this man. And during the whole week, he drove me in Detroit at night. It was unbelievable. So we went to see the site. And what is very funny, it was a big, there is a pipe underground from the city with the water, the drinkable water, a big pipe. And the pipe is having a hole. So on the site, you're having a piece of water here, like 15 square meters of water, because there is pressure on the pipe, and so the water is on the floor here. So they said to me, oh, we can do what we have planned. Cool. So let's do another story. And so I asked them, why not giving this space, because the space is empty, is closed, is locked with this fence. Why don't we make a party opening the fence and give the plot to the community, to the people around? So we go to ring at each door to know the people. They all came on site at night, and we open the fence, and we give to them, and I say, maybe it's enough. What I'm trying to say is maybe sometimes what I'm trying to do is observing more and building less. And I want to use my brain because I'm very lazy. And if I can, the question I'm asking to the student is instead of asking yourself, what do you want to do? Maybe we can ask, what can we avoid to do? Just to try. And so the students, they start to work. And what is very funny, this one is the one who did the bus stop, very well designed. And I discussed with him, and I realized that to pay the school, to pay the university, he's working in a landscape company who plant trees. So I said to him, but what is the purpose of your project? He said to me, I want to provide shadow. But you're having a job, you plant trees. He said, yeah, so why don't planting trees, fruit trees for the people? And he said, okay, so his company gives the trees, and we start working like that. Because you're having a story, you're having a personal story, you're having a skill, you're having experience. You must use it. And so we spend the week working like that. And about the problem, I said to them, why not making a border with what we find? And so maybe we can create a, how you call it, like in a garden, you know, a piece of lake, a small lake. And we will see if the pressure is enough, maybe the level will go high, high, high. So it's not a problem, it is a resource. It's a try, huh? You understand that? We work with a landscape architect, very good. And because of this water, it was a lot of plants for 2 or 3 years. It was very interesting, the biodiversity on the site. So we start to make an inventory of all the plants and to develop the knowledge of the plant on the site. The Indian one was explaining to us the medical story of the plant, how to eat it. And so we start to name the plant. This is the community. The problem also, when you want to build something with students, always you finish with this kind of thing. How do you call it in English? I don't know. Palette. You know, I'm sure you know. So for me, it's a big problem because it's very ugly and no skill. So the student came and said to me, Christophe, we are very happy. We find 100 palettes, so we can do something with it. So, okay, we can do something, but you have to do something with a skill. You have to make something efficient, otherwise we don't need it. So the people wanted to make like an auditorium to have public meetings on that space. So we use plywood. The people on the corner, they give us plywood, and I said to them, you must do something very, you must develop a skill, do something with it. So we try different configuration. And the teacher of the university came with tracing paper. And they said to me, no, you have to make the plan first. And I say, yes, you're right, but maybe we can do the plan, the layout next week. Let's build it this week, and we do the layout next week. And so after we put some fish in the lake. So after we put it, I live on the Sunday. Every day I was going to see the fish. It was working very well. The birds are thanking me in Detroit now. Yeah, this is 1 week studio. Okay, the last story. I went back to Clipton. You remember Clipton in Sky? So 2012. And when we do the workshop, we are not busy the whole day building, of course. We did also the layout of all the neighborhood. I'm having a dream. I want to, you know, the Clipton, the neighborhood is called Extension 1, Extension 2, Extension 3, etc. But the street, they don't have name. And for example, there is a big stone on the corner, and Mandela is where he was reading the Freedom Charter. But no one knows that it's these rocks was using for the Freedom Charter. And all these elements are the institution and the story of that neighborhood. And for me, mapping and drawing the neighborhood as it is a urban project for me. I'm having this dream that I want to give the name of all the streets, all the places with the people, and we can do after the urban plan without building anything. This is what I want to do in the future. And so I met this man. We were visiting the neighborhood. This man is very important. He's called Maniki. He turned his house into the museum of the daily life of Clipton. Okay? So you're having from the 60s during apartheid all the objects of the daily life. It's unbelievable. It's like a book. It's a knowledge. It's unbelievable. And this man was living close to an institution. It's called Le Sans Souci. Sans Souci was a cinema. It was a concert hall during apartheid. It was the only place in Soweto for cultural events during apartheid. Abdullah Ibrahim, Miriam Makeba, they all start in that cinema. And now this cinema is completely abandoned. No one is taking care of this cinema, but all the people, the ancient, they know it. So we meet him and we are talking and we say, okay, I will come next year, let's do the cinema again. So this is the back of the screen of the cinema, and this is what we still have for the cinema. It's not a lot. it's a dam. It's full of rubbish. It's nothing. You see, it was the entrance and the bar of the cinema. And we said, okay, we will come back to make this project. So I came back with my student, same story, volunteers, people come, we all work together. First, we clean the site. And I found an organization very interesting. They do movie, it's a school for movie and audiovisual teaching. They do a documentary movie with kids. They provide skill for audiovisual in this neighborhood. So I work with them, and the kids were providing documentary about this neighborhood. And we say, okay, let's make the cinema again and use your stuff, your work on that place. So you see, they are shooting on the old cinema. This is Ginger, still working. The cinema in the landscape. And then we start to clean, and if you open a box of white painting, the people start to paint, but you cannot stop them. We were using steel also, because you will see what we wanted to do. We start to tell story about this place, and we start to build the baobab. And after, we did the stage. In fact, you know the animals, the small animal, the snail. You know a snail. In fact, we do the body of the snail, but we don't do the house of the snail. I don't know if you follow me. So after, maybe we can think about the house, but we prefer to do, it's a naked snail. That's what we do. So we do columns here because we're going to put lighting, because this place was very dark at night and very unsafe. There is a lot of problem of security in South Africa, and there is a lot of kids around, all the houses around, they don't have electricity. So, yeah, we did this stage. We paint in white the wall, of course, and we start to do a garden here. So it's very just a detail, but in that part we planned before traveling to South Africa. 2 students, they were busy working for many months to do a concrete floor, and to make some construction. And on the site, we decided, no, it's too much, it's too complicated, forget it. So it's complicated because you want to prove that you are able to do something, but you have to prove that maybe sometimes to be clever is not doing the things. To change your mind. This is the mosaic. We start in the first. They continue always to do mosaic. When I go there, every time I find mosaic everywhere. They paint all the building. They do everything. They copy. And so Bernard came with us, because we needed to put jazz music again on that site, because this is the story of that building. So we don't have the money to provide a concert hall, but we will provide the concert. And for the hall, we are sorry. So we came back at Sky to make concert. You see the painting? Everything is completely different. The garden. They run a workshop in the orphanage to be able to perform at the end of the studio. And we start to put the lighting. So the lighting, I found a young startup company in France. They provide a solar system for public lighting. Very interesting. I went to see them. I said to them, okay, give me for free your system. I will put there, and you can advertise with what we are doing. So it's a lot of money. They give me for free 4 lamps. I put 3 there and 1 in the orphanage. And you see the baobab? I show you a nice picture, but at that time it was not nice. So sometimes we failed a lot. And when the light is coming, it's fantastic. If you go there now, in the weekend, you've got DG, you've got thousands of people using that space. It's completely amazing. And so we start also to make the cinema. So we start little, and day by day, people are coming. You see, people start to perform without us. The organization of the people is not at all what we were expecting. Bernard came to play also. They paint this wall in white also, just in case. So the cinema is coming. You see, the movie of the kids with professional system. 500, 600 people every night we get. You see, they start to sell food. The economic is coming back. It was unbelievable. This is the stone of the mayor of the city. This is the layout. So the question I'm asking to the student is very simple, is which architect do you want to be? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Christophe. Thanks for these stories and the importance of meeting people and talking with people. Is there some questions? I don't know. It's okay?
Mm-hmm.
About that? No question? It's okay? Yes, yes.
It's probably a hard question to answer because there are a lot of variables, but how easy do you think that a project like this could lead to similar projects starting? I mean, how big is the obstacle to start a project like this for a professor with his students? Is it mostly a time-consuming problem that keeps people from doing it, or is it that there are no locations? I could imagine there are plenty. How easy is it to make this project a pilot project and have other projects follow along?
I think it depends on how do you welcome the desire of the student also. Because I was joking, but making a A0 panel and a white model, it takes a lot of time. And if you convert that time to go there and to do something with people, it's very grateful and you enjoy yourself and it's very efficient. I think it's not a question of time. I'm very lazy, I'm very honest. It's not so a lot of time. It's a question of energy and desire.
Start probably also this idea of this energy that when there is something possible, you do it immediately and not quite too much. I think this is important.
I think in the presentation you can see it's like a ball. You go there, you meet the other one. Oh, you see the cinema. Okay, we want to do the cinema, so you have to go back.
Imagine doing these kind of projects at a bigger scale, not only in this housing building.
It's already a very big scale. It concerns a lot of people. It's a lot of people on that kind of project. I don't know what you mean with Beatscape.
Yeah, I don't know. Because we had a project last year and we kind of tried to go there, talk to the people and everything. But at the end we had to plan 1,200 apartments too. And I was thinking of how could you adapt this kind of.
Okay, if it is your question, no, it's not possible. Definitely. But what is possible maybe is to do one project like that, a second one, a third one, a fourth one, a fifth one. Look how many architects we are here in this room. Imagine we all go to Clifton for 2 months. You're having a urban plan. It's done. But if you think that talking to the people will give you the input to make 1,000 of units, it doesn't work.
This is just part of your work, right?
It's not my work, it's my teaching work.
And are there other projects in Europe?
Sorry?
Are there other projects in Europe?
Me? Yeah, but you have to wait the second time I will come to know what of the project I'm doing. I'm sorry. Just wanted to show this one today. And sorry, I'm not answering the question, but I'm thinking about one thing I didn't say. My teaching approach also is based on a French philosopher called Jacques Rancière. Jacques Rancière, he did a very good book. It's called The Ignorant Master. The theory of this book is that explaining something to someone is showing to him that he's not able to understand by himself. So, when you are a teacher, how can you do? So I try to be ignorant. I don't answer the question, I'm sorry, but I was thinking of that. You want to know what kind of other project I'm doing? Is it your question?
Possible to have a project like that also in Germany, especially in this situation right now.
If it's possible. This is your question?
Yes.
Yes, of course it is. Look in Uzeste, in France.
But this is France. Where are you talking about? Germany, different countries. France is different.
Yeah. If you want. No, you can work everywhere like that. Everywhere. I'm sure.
I mean, for you.
Yeah. You're asking me.
I have a question. I'm curious. You said that you would like to separate research from work. I don't remember exactly how you said it because you said that too often it's too close or too. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Even though we didn't see the work yet, why you think that this should be more separate? Don't you think that there could be a fluid connection between research and teaching and then just being the one who is just author of a work? Why do you think it should be more separate?
There is a link, you are right. There is a link in my practice. I've got a link, of course. I'm learning a lot in this kind of project. Maybe it's the one who is learning the most because I have to see everything, so I'm learning a lot. So I'm using it in my practice. But what I wanted to say, I want to be clear about what we are teaching, what we are doing. I want to separate the professional activity, which is answering to a market, for example, the private sector market of the construction. You follow me? Because sometimes in school, you make like a copy of a private sector process. You know, like competition or for example, let's do a library on that plot. This is not an academic work to do a library on that plot. It cannot work. You have to think about that. You can say, for example, what are the state of the book in the society? This is a good question for academic research, but not making a library there. You follow me? This is the concern of the private sector. For me, teaching is another story. It's a way of thinking. It's completely different. For me, it's not the same skill.
Would you then even say that in teaching you have to go back to the basics?
No.
No. And rethink everything from beginning, whereas if you go for a private market, you have to assume these models and work with these models.
No, but I'm talking only about the teaching today. I don't want to make a comparison between the both. I don't know if I'm clear about that. Maybe not.
I think I got the point.
You know, in a lot of fields, teaching it's a big issue. For the kids, for example, people are making books like that about teaching. In architecture, who is thinking about the way we are teaching? I never saw one sentence about the way of teaching in architecture. You just reproduce a model. Okay? In France, we are teaching like you have to become Le Corbusier again. No, I'm sorry.
How do you think you could spread this idea of praxis-oriented teaching? Like, I really like the idea of praxis-oriented teaching and doing things with a hand. How do you think people will come to accept this, or how does the school react to this? I mean, it's very interesting that you can do this, and I think it's almost strange for us to see this.
Just one suggestion. I think we are building with our brain, not with the hand. It's very important. Otherwise, you know, sometimes we don't build because it's not, we think we don't have to. And the way the school is answering, I don't know, not very well, of course.
And how do you believe you can spread this idea to make it more positively seen?
I don't know, coming to Berlin to show to you.
You're practicing this quite unorthodox teaching with your students, but you yourself probably went through a quite traditional professional education. And you also said that this is an important knowledge. Do you see a conflict then between your teaching now and the fact that you also need this knowledge to gain to your traditional?
I think we need the both. We need a very high-level academic knowledge, and we need also to be sometimes ignorant or in another state. Let's talk about music. For example, if you learn a classic music, piano, the teacher will say to you, you will play on stage when you will know how to play. Never. You can become a professor, but you cannot play. Look at the black American jazzmen in the 60s, what they did. They just play on stage, and what they play, they show them what to learn. You follow me? First they play, and they say, oh, okay, if I want to go there, I have to look at that. It's a dynamic. And I don't have problem with the opposition between the academic knowledge, classical, and what we are trying, because I believe that my colleagues are doing the other side very well. So it works.
I was thinking about the way Tafuri understands the Algerian plan of Le Corbusier. He says in Architecture and Capitalism that Corbusier worked for 3 years on this plan, and Tafuri says it's a truly utopian project in the way that it depicts really the relationships between the architects and capitalism. And I was thinking, when you describe this or frame this as a teaching project that is really outside the doctrines of capitalism or the dominant mode of thinking of how architects have to function, is this then a truly utopian space that you develop here?
I didn't really think about that on that way. I don't know. What do you think, you?
I wonder because you put it in such a neat position between the regular practice of an architect. And you also say this can only happen within teaching. So I wondered about the status and also about the meaning of utopia for an architectural practice. But you would be the better person to judge that.
Yes, but for me it's difficult because, for me it's completely normal. It's what I'm doing. So I'm not going into this language of utopia or something that you cannot, for me it's completely normal. No? It's my point of view, sorry. But if you want to go on that, maybe you are in a better position than me to talk about that. I don't have this stance with all these things. I'm inside.
No? Nothing more? So perhaps we can thank you again.